So for our book today, we're going to be reading Prairie Christmas by Elizabeth Van Steenwyck. So our learning objective for today is to be able to identify the problem and the solution in the story. So I'm going to give you guys one of these little sheets that on one side we see the problem and on the other side we see the solution. So just throughout the story as you're listening, if anything comes up where maybe the character is facing some sort of conflict or issue, just write it right here up in this free space. Even if you're not completely sure, we're going to go over it in the end. And then if there's ever a point where we see some sort of solution to those problems, you can also write it there. And yeah, so before we begin, I just want to take a second to look at the book. So let's look at the cover here for a second. So what are some things that we see? Yeah, so we see a Christmas tree. This Christmas tree looks like it has tinsel on it of some sort, which is like sparkly little strings that you can hang on a Christmas tree. We have some pretty joyful people right here. Do you guys notice anything about the clothes that these people are wearing? Do they look like clothes that you and I would wear? No, yeah, the clothes look a little bit older for sure. Yeah, the clothes maybe look a little more raggedy. Yeah, so those were all great observations. So let's look at the title. So Prairie Christmas. Can anyone tell me what a prairie is? Yeah, so a prairie was basically this big piece of grassland or like a huge field that people back in the 1800s would come and settle on. So they would raise their kids there, they would build a house there, have animals, so their entire lives were just on these prairies. So yeah, so this story takes place during this time period, which was the late 1800s. I believe this story takes place in 1880. So yeah, so let's begin. Alright. A knock on the door wakes me up in the night. I listen as Mama opens it. I'm John Cooper, a neighbor of the Van Diermeers, a man says. They are in a hurry because their baby is coming. It's too soon, I hear the worry in Mama's voice as she closes the door. Mama always goes when someone tells her she's needed, and I always go with her because she won't let me stay home alone. Mama's a doctor, and she says it's about time that women got to be doctors. After all, it's 1880. But why does she have to be a doctor tonight? Christmas Day has just begun, and the two of us had our own plans. Now Mama will be working, and I will be waiting, just as though it's any other day. She goes out to the barn and hitches old Dan to the buggy. I follow and feel crisp, bright air on my cheeks. Gran knit a woolly scarf for me when I was a baby, and tonight I wrap it closer to my chin. It used to be miles too long, but little by little I'm growing into it now that I'm almost 11. So, all right, we're just going to stop right there for a second, and can anyone tell me any problems that have occurred in the story so far? Yeah, so one problem that we see in the story is that this little girl is upset because it's Christmas Day and her mom has to go deliver someone's baby. And this seems to be something that happens a lot. Yeah, so what are some key words or phrases that tell us that this little girl is sad? Yeah, I'd agree that the sentence, but why does she have to be a doctor tonight? It kind of sounds like the little girl is really disappointed, maybe even a little bit frustrated. Yeah, so you guys are able to just write that in the problem side. So you could write, little girl is frustrated, mom has to go be with patient, anything like that. So let's continue. So Mama tucks our Texas star quilt around us, and then old Dan takes off on the dirt road that heads through Nebraska. The jingle of bells on his bridle announce that we're coming, and a bright star shows the way. "Come on, old Dan," Mama says. "We can't be slowpokes tonight." 1 hour later, we pull into the barnyard. Mr. Vandermeer opens the front door even before old Dan's bells have stopped jingling. "Hurry," he says. The Vandermeer's house and barn are built under one roof. The animals live on one side and the family on the other. The animals can look right into the great room through the half-open doors. Mr. Vandermeer and Mama rush into the house. I unhitch old Dan and give him a measure of oats in his nose bag before following them. A lamp brightens one color of the great room, and a mantel clock strikes 2 as we step inside. A small, undercoated fir tree stands nearby. Christmas was interrupted here, too. Logs sputter in the fireplace, throwing off a warm glow. I am drawn to it, while Mama wraps herself in a white apron. "She's asking for you," Mr. Vandermeer says. Mama nods and follows him into the other room to tend to his wife. Now comes the waiting part, but I'll never get used to it. In the rocking chair beside the fire, I wrap my thick scarf around me and doze until the clock strikes again. I waken and realize that I am being watched. 2 little faces peer at me from the sleeping cupboard in the wall. In their night clothes, they look like frightened angels. "Is our new baby here yet?" the little boy asks. He comes to stand close to me. "No," I say. "It might take a while. Most of my Christmas I add to myself." His sister is tall and her braids are long. "What's your name?" she asks. "Emma." "What's yours?" "Hansy," she answers, "and my brother is Will." A low groan from their mother comes from the bedroom. Hansy and Will look alarmed and step closer to each other. "Don't be afraid," I tell them. They're not having much of a Christmas either. So, in this page, what are some new developments to the story? What just happened? So we just learned that the little girl in the story, the main character, got a name. Her name is Emma. And we were also introduced to 2 new characters. So we met, what were their names? Anyone remember? Yeah, so we met Hansy and her little brother Will. So, is there anything from that page that we could put on our problem and solution sheet? Can anyone tell me how Hansy and Will were feeling? Yeah, so Hansy and Will were a little bit upset that their Christmas was being interrupted by their mom giving birth. And it seems like they were a little bit afraid even about their mom giving birth, that she was going to get hurt or that she was going to get sick. Yeah, so you can write any of those things down on the problem side if you'd like. So, let's continue. Will helps himself to an apple from the wooden bowl on the table, and old Dan begins to shake his head. "Old Dan likes apples too," I say, and take one to him. While his giant jaws crunch the apple, I stroke his long silver mane. He's always liked that. Then I get an idea. "What are you doing?" Hansy asks. "Watch." I comb my hands through old Dan's mane and loosen strands of hair. Then I gather a handful and give some to Hansy and some to Will. "What shall we do now?" he asks. I go to the tree and begin to hang the silver threads on its branches. They do the same. Mr. Vandermeer burst in from the bedroom. His hair stands up like dry straw, and his shirt collar is wrinkled. "A towel! I am to get a towel!" He looks at us as if we were strangers. I find one near the wash basin. He takes it and rushes back to the bedroom. Unanswered questions, mine, Hansy's, and Will's, hover around me. Will put his hand in mine and looks at me. "I want my mama," he begs. "So do I think, but I am older, so I do not say that aloud. I could spare a hug, though. It's good for him and for me as well." So, what on this page, did we see anything that was a problem or a solution? Well, I'd say that I think we see a solution for the first time on this page when they give each other a hug. And he says, "I can spare a hug, though. It's good for him and for me as well." So I think that is a solution, because Emma and Hansy are both realizing that this night is just not going how they wanted it to, and they're feeling a little bit afraid, but they decide to comfort each other. So yeah, you could maybe write on the solution side that they comfort each other, they give each other a hug. Yeah, so let's continue. I'm hungry, Hansy answers. Ma didn't feel like making supper last night. She glances at the bedroom door, anxious and uncertain. Let's make breakfast, I say. Their faces brighten. You? Will asks. Me, I say. When my mom is tired, I cook. I go to the cupboard and find rice and cinnamon, and sugar and salt and raisins. Porridge, Hansy cries. Christmas porridge, I correct her. She helps me cook a fire on the stove. Soon the rice is bubbling in the pan, and the scent of cinnamon floats everywhere. We hear more alarming sounds from the bedroom. Why don't we sing? I ask quickly. So do you know Silent Night? They try to follow along, but don't seem to know the words. We grow restless in our waiting. The clock sounds another hour. Hansy finds bits of bright yarn to tie on the tree. Will adds his papa's shiny cigar wrappers. I find a few berries in the bowl and tuck them here and there on the branches. So, what do we see in this page? I think we saw a lot of solution. Can anyone give me an example? Yeah, so Emma, being kind of the older sister in this situation, decides to cook supper for them since they don't know how to. So I think that could be a big one. Yeah, and another one is when the children heard screaming from their mom, Emma decided to distract them by singing Silent Night. So I think that all of these solutions kind of show that Emma was trying to comfort her new friends. And yeah, so we could write all of that in the solution category. A knock on the door interrupts us, and I go to open it. Mr. Cooper stands there, fingers of dawn streaking the sky behind him. The light from the lamp has been glowing all night. We've been worried, he says. He holds a large plate of cookies and steps inside, followed by the two other neighbors. One man carries a small goat, the other two lambs. The baby is not here yet, I tell them. Not yet? Mr. Cooper questions. But it has been so long. We look at one another. How much longer will we wait? I pass the cookies and we eat in silence. Will reaches for another. The neighbors pull out chairs at the table and sit. I resume my place in the rocking chair and Hansy crowds in behind me. Will plops on my lap. The chair creaks in rhythm with the clock. I'm glad you're here, Emma, Hansy whispers. I don't think we're going to have Christmas until you came. And then we hear it, a baby's soft cry. He's here, Will shouts. He's here. All of us, the children, the visitors, and I, leap up together and rejoice in laughter and tears and hugs. Will drops the cookie plate, but no one minds. Soon the bedroom door opens and Mama comes out. She looks tired, and I remind myself to do the dishes all by myself tonight. She speaks to Hansy and Will. Your pa is bringing the baby and your mom in here when it's warmer. She saves a special smile for me. They come. Mrs. Vandermeer, walking slowly and carefully. She sits in the rocking chair and takes the baby from her husband. The blanket that wraps the newborn is threadbare from two other babies. Old Dan hears the commotion and looks on from the half-open doors. A cow and a donkey join him. Mr. Cooper and the men step forward to offer their gifts to the baby, and goat for milk and lambs for wool. So, just on this page, is there anything interesting? Anything that stood out to you guys? Maybe something that's different than what we would see like in our culture today? Yeah. So, Mr. Cooper and the men gave the Vandermeers a goat and a lamb as a gift for their new baby. Now, tell me, does anyone in here have a baby sibling, or maybe their mom is pregnant right now? Yeah, so do you guys remember what kind of gifts your mom got when she was pregnant or when she just had her baby? Yeah, so she might have gotten diapers or toys or new clothes. But yeah, we see in the story that the mom got goat and a lamb. So do we have any idea why? Yeah, so the goat was actually for milk, and then the lambs were for wool to make their own clothes. So that's something kind of neat. All right, I believe we're on the last page. It is a night for gifts. Hansy and Will give apples, and I hand my long scarf to Mrs. Vanderveer. She wraps it around and around her newborn. The baby will grow into its miles of warmth, as I did, and I'll one day outgrow it, as I have done tonight. Later, after everyone has eaten Christmas porridge, Mom and I hitch old Dan to the buggy and drive home in a scattering of soft and silent snow. I will always remember this Christmas, I say. Always. All right, so that was our book, Prairie Christmas. So now, I just want, you can see right here, so you guys should have been writing on this side some problems that you saw, and then some solutions. And then I want from each of you just a complete sentence on both sides. So write a complete sentence for me on what the problem in the story was, and then another complete sentence for me on what the solution was. So yeah, thank you guys so much.